Presentation while I got the recording started. All right. Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. As Melissa said, my name is Elena Kendrick, and I'm a career coach here in the Office of Career Success. And I just want to thank everyone for being here on a beautiful summer afternoon. Today, we are going to be focusing on networking, and we all might have somewhat of an idea of like what networking is, right? We hear the term all the time as students at Eisenberg. We might have a picture in our head of what networking looks like. We're going to demystify a few things, talk about what it really means, how important it actually is, and why it truly matters in your job search. And then we'll also spend time on professional branding, right? How to craft an elevator pitch that makes a really strong first impression when interacting with accounting firms this fall. So as Melissa said, we are getting through our summer series, Fast Track to a Public Accounting Internship. We have that one remaining session in August where I'll be presenting on all things interviewing, how to prepare, and how to feel confident when those opportunities arise. So I hope to see you all there. And here's just an overview of today's workshop. So again, we're going to talk about what really is networking, what are the benefits of networking, what types of environments or settings does networking typically occur in for students. We're going to start to define your network and talk about how you can begin to leverage it. And then we'll turn over to elevator pitches, and I'll be sharing a framework for how to put together a really succinct elevator pitch. We'll look at an example. We'll go over some do's and don'ts when delivering your pitch, how to really follow up with your connections once you've made them. And then we'll end off with a simple networking roadmap that you can all follow moving forward. All right, so what is networking? To put it really simply, at its core, networking is the exchange of ideas, information, and support. And networking allows you to establish both personal and professional relationships with people who are there to share advice, to share insights for what you might be seeking at that time. Networking can absolutely open the door to new opportunities for you. But something I want to emphasize is that networking, it's a skill that you're not only going to be using, or it's not only going to be necessary during your time here at Eisenberg to help you, explore careers or land your first internship or job, but this is really a tool and a skill that's going to be embedded into your entire career. And right now, you're starting to build the foundation for that. And I'd even go as far to say that in business, networking is entirely impossible to actually avoid. If you think about it, in the future, you're going to want to tap into your network and your connections when maybe seeking a promotion or looking to make a smooth career transition, or maybe you're thinking about starting your own business and you need to partner with people or rely on others to make that happen. Another point I do want to acknowledge is that if you are new to networking, or if you're naturally introverted like me, this process, it can feel a bit intimidating. It can feel uncomfortable. It can be hard to put yourself out there and ask other people for support, for help. And yeah, the reality is, at first you might have a couple awkward interactions or encounters, but that's a normal part of the process, right? And at some point you might even feel like, okay, my efforts, I know I'm making all this effort, but I'm not necessarily seeing immediate gratification, or it doesn't seem like it's working right away. And what I kind of refer to that as is these are just growing pains. And all of your career coaches will tell you that you really need to be consistent. You have to keep at it. It's like building a muscle. You're not going to see immediate results, but the more you practice, the more you get comfortable and gain confidence, this can be really successful. So in the accounting world, we know that relationships and trust are really core to the profession, especially when you'll be working so closely with lots of different people and with clients. So when we think about networking, it's about people, not positions. So your intention with people shouldn't be, I'm only talking to them or I'm only reaching out because they can offer me something like a job. Networking should be about building authentic and meaningful relationships over time. Yes, it can sometimes come off or feel a little bit transactional or one sided, but your goal should be to build relationships that are mutually beneficial in the long run. So, even right now, as a student, you might be taking more from a person than you can really give back to them at this stage of where you're at. And that's fine. But you want to kind of look or seek out ways, small ways that you can help them as well. Always ask, is there something I can offer you perspective on, or can I share certain insights that's going to help you with whatever you're working on right now? So trying to keep that kind of give and take. It should be mutually beneficial, and it's about people, not positions. Next, networking is a learning tool. So it's a way for us to learn from people's experiences and expand our own perspective. This is a really the best way to understand really what do accounting professionals do on a day-to-day basis. Where did this person start and how did they get to where they are now? This is really an ideal way to understand different firms, like what are their environments, what are their cultures and values like, how do they differ? Um, and once you gather all this information, it's really important that you track it, right? You note it down, and that's going to help you with your follow-up. It's going to help you improve, your applications and strengthen your candidacy. Networking is about long-term relationships. We don't want it to just be a one-time ask, right? You're investing your limited time. So we don't want that to be on these short interactions that just kind of end there. Your goal is to develop these contacts that you're making into a long-term sustaining relationship. So how do we really do that? Once you have these initial interactions, I always tell students, make sure to check in with those people. Once you get their contact information, send them a message here and there, like share some updates with them about what's been going on with you. Have you implemented any of the advice that they've given you and how did that go? Or, maybe they've shared updates on their LinkedIn profile. Maybe they reached a milestone or got promoted. So congratulate them or just, check in and see how things have been going. And that's really how you continue to nurture the relationship. Successful networking should start really before you need anything at all. So again, networking, it's not about instant results. You never know, you might meet someone this year, this semester, who refers you a year from now or helps you with something 5 years from now. So making sure to maintain those relationships will help you in the long run. So let's look at some networking statistics and why networking really isn't optional at this stage in the job market. So approximately 85% of jobs are actually filled through networking. And if I had to guess, this statistic as of recently has probably only increased. And why is this the case? Well, we know that people hire people that they know or people referred by somebody that they know. This process, it saves the company time, money, and effort. Another statistic, roughly 70% of jobs are never even publicly posted on job boards. And we refer to this as the hidden job market, which basically means there are open opportunities and positions out there that companies are looking to fill, but they don't publish them publicly. Instead, they mean to fill those roles either internally or with referrals. And this is because they prefer to hire people that are already pre-vetted. They come recommended already by trusted sources. So that reduces their hiring risk so that they don't hire someone that is, a risk of maybe not being a good fit or might leave sooner than they, had hoped for. And then lastly, only 3% of online applications actually get passed on to a hiring team for review. That's an incredibly low number. So therefore, we need to ask ourselves, like, how can we justify our unique value add to this employer? How can we ensure that our applications stand out in a very large pool of submissions? But maybe more importantly, what this tells us as well is that submitting online applications is just one piece of the puzzle in your job search. With such a low statistic, you really need to take into account, like, I need to be taking proactive steps through networking to be considered for the opportunities that you truly want. And so although, the accounting firms that will be posting opportunities this fall will be requiring a submission of an application, your chances of getting noticed and standing out, increases substantially if you're going out of your way to engage and show up at these events and connect with them. All right, so effective networking absolutely influences career success. We just talked about how it can help you gain knowledge. So, learning the ins and outs of certain career paths and really understanding like what skills and experiences are required or desirable to break into a particular industry. It helps you to build your professionalism. So, of course, work experience, technical skills, being involved on campus, getting good grades, all of those things are amazing and they can land you an interview. But what is it going to take to actually get you hired? You have to be ready to model those soft skills that are going to be critical on the job. So, the ability to communicate effectively within a team and demonstrate strong workplace etiquette is going to be essential. And networking, luckily, gives you the space to really practice these skills. Networking can create opportunities. So we know that networking is about seed planting for future opportunities, but it also can open doors to ways for you to explore right now. So, like, for example, maybe you do an informational interview, have a career conversation with an alumni, and they offer the opportunity to have you go and shadow them at their job. That's going to kind of open the door and allow you to learn. Um, Maybe you have really good relationship with a professor, you have good rapport with them. They might seek you out for research, projects or opportunities, which will make a really good or stand out on your resume. So lots of things that you might not even be considering, but can really only be offered through making those connections. Um, so a strong network can also have the potential to accelerate your job search. Sometimes it does allow you to kind of bypass certain barriers or certain tedious HR processes, which will lead to faster interviews and faster hiring decisions, which is always kind of the dream. So here are some common networking environments that will be available and presented to you as a student here at Eisenberg. So off the top of your head, you might think of networking and immediately, your head goes to hiring events like a career fair. So we have the Eisenberg Career Days, but we also have firms and employers coming to campus or virtually hosting information sessions and workshops. So these are ways that you can engage with companies, introduce yourself, share your resume, practice your elevator pitch, and just kind of learn about what they're offering and what they're seeking. Networking also happens virtually. So on LinkedIn, or if you get contact information, you can reach out to people through email. This is a great way to request those informational interviews and gather some insight. Being involved on campus in different clubs and organizations, great opportunity for networking because you get exposed to mentorship. You get to collaborate with peers and faculty leaders and alumni who might be coming to speak with you. Same thing with classroom visits or guest speakers that come in. It's a low pressure way to meet professionals. You're often required to be there, so you don't necessarily have to take time out of your very busy day to show up. But again, once you've had that connection, it's like, what are you going to do with it next? You need to reach out, say thank you, and try to continue that conversation and ask questions. Another important thing to note is that networking can happen anywhere and with anyone. So although, these are some common ways that you'll be able to engage, you never know when you'll meet someone who can really guide or help you along your journey. Sometimes it's when you don't even expect it, like in an airport or at a coffee shop or if you're at a social event. So why I'm saying this is because the more you practice your communication and your ability to really clearly articulate who you are and what you're seeking, then the more you can take advantage of those impromptu moments where you might meet the right person. Okay, so let's define our network. The first kind of thing you want to think about when you're mapping out who's already within your circle would be to look at your first degree connections. So, believe it or not, you already have a solid network. You just need to, again, map it out. And these first degree connections are made up of people that you already have established relationships with. It could be friends, it could be family members, it could be professors, peers, or coworkers and colleagues. So your network might look somewhat like what you're seeing in the purple right here. You're directly connected to them. And then your second degree connection would be someone who you're not directly connected to, but who you may know of or learn of through your first degree connection. And these are valuable because they can expand your reach and it can often lead to like introductions with people that are either in roles or at certain companies or in industries that you are actually interested in. One example of like a second degree connection would be, maybe you connect with a career coach here in the OCS, and we can connect you with alumni that we know of that we've formerly worked with who we know want to help students and, kind of make that introduction for you. And then you'll see some other examples on the slide here, but feel free to just, do something similar like this, jot down on a notebook kind of who exists within your current first degree connections, and then reach out to those people, let them know what it is you're kind of looking for or looking for information on. And if they know of someone who might be able to support you, they can kind of make that connection for you. So here's a list of some folks that already exist within your kind of first degree connections, and I refer to this as your Eisenberg network. So this would be your undergraduate academic advisors, your career coaches, and other members here in the OCS, faculty, department chairs, other Eisenberg staff members, of course, your classmates, your peers, Eisenberg alumni who are your career cheer champions. They always want to see other successful alums and students that they are willing to support and help out. And then, of course, employer partners. So the recruiters and the employer contacts that we have strong relationships with here at Eisenberg that continuously hire our students. And I just put a quick reminder on here that yes, most people are willing to help and they want to help, but they're not going to do the work for you. So you really need to make it easy for them. You need to ensure that you are being specific and direct with what you're seeking. And so your attitude and your approach to this is going to be a differentiator and what's essential to making this networking successful. Okay, so a question I get asked quite frequently when coaching students is who are the best people to reach out to outside of sort of my first degree connections? And I always point them to sort of these four buckets. First being early and mid-career professionals. So this might be recent graduates or early alumni who are a little bit more open or have more availability to kind of chat with you. And so they can provide honest insights into the day-to-day responsibilities they have in their entry-level roles. They were just in your shoes, so they can share recent, job search strategies, what worked for them in their applications or in their networking. They can be honest and give sort of real talk about a company culture, work-life balance, other expectations of them in their roles, and they can really serve as like a peer mentor for you. Next, reaching out to somebody who's in a management or a leadership position. They have more years of experience under their belt. They might have a different perspective to share with you. They can offer sort of that higher level industry and career path advice that they've gained during their time in this field. They also can kind of give you insight into what hiring managers are looking for in candidates. And they're really well connected, right? They've been in the industry for a long time, so they can maybe connect you or introduce you to other key players that might be able to share something different or unique that you're looking for. Recruiters again that you'll meet here at Eisenberg, on-campus recruiters, or industry recruiters that you might speak with on LinkedIn. They're good to connect with. They can set up interviews, they can move you along the process. So they're kind of like the gatekeepers of getting you through applications and interviews and all that stuff. But ultimately, they're not going to be the ones to make decisions whether or not to hire you. That would be the hiring manager. So if you can get directly connected to a hiring manager of some kind and you make a good impression with them, then that goes a very long way. Another frequently asked question I get is sort of the timeline for networking. Like, should I network before I apply to a role or should I do it after I apply? Like, what does the step by step process look like? And so, ideally, kind of in a perfect world, this would be how it could go. First, you want to identify, research and then identify your targets. Like, who are the people at this company that I'm targeting that I should reach out to that might be able to provide me with some sort of information that I'm looking for? Um, and then establish those connections. So, do that outreach before you apply. Um, and once you do that, you'll gather some insights that's going to help you tailor your applications and maybe stand out. Maybe they can give you a referral, make your candidacy a bit stronger, and then apply to that job either after networking or in parallel, like around the same time. Once you've sent in that application, you can follow up with your contacts post application, let them know, hey, I've applied. Here's my rec ID. If you need to find it in the system, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and offer me advice. It really helped me in my application. I would love to talk more about this opportunity, whatever it might be. But again, we want to show gratitude for them taking their time to, get to know you and help you out, and then continue to nurture that connection. We don't want to be, of course, like blowing up their email or their messages all the time, but every now and then reach back out for maybe an update or just to check in. Now, again, this would kind of be what would happen in an ideal world, but things don't always go this way. Let's say you find a position on Handshake today and you're super interested, but the application deadline is like 2 days from now. That doesn't really give you a ton of time to reach out to people, to get a response, to set up a time to meet. Um, so go ahead and get your application in. Of course, you still want to make sure that you're considered for the opportunity, but networking after the fact will help you strengthen your candidacy still by showcasing your interest and can potentially connect you with those key decision makers. So again, you'll first need to find the right people to contact and then reach out, letting them know you're interested in the position. And you can reference your application and just say, hey, I recently applied for this role at your company, and I would love to hear about your experience at working in audit or tax at this firm. And if someone's willing to chat, then go ahead and, meet with them, but approach it more with curiosity rather than making it all about your application or like the structural process of everything. We still want to highlight your value. So here's some do's and don'ts when it comes to like in-person networking, right? So one thing we always want to do is prepare by researching each firm or each company, having some notes prepared or taking notes as we're talking to them. The last thing we want to do is walk up to them with no idea who they are and kind of getting stuck, not knowing what to ask them. We also want to have a concise elevator pitch that you've practiced, and we're going to talk more about this next. We don't want to be talking their ear off for too long or rambling. When we do get a chance to ask questions, make those questions, intriguing. You may not want to ask something that every other student is, asking. You might want to stand out and avoid asking things like, what does your company do? Or are you hiring right now? Clothing or attire. So make sure to like understand what professional attire looks like. We have an amazing Dress for Success guide on iConnect that you can look at with some examples in there for different types of events. But again, we want to make sure to do that research ahead of time, know what we're going to be presenting ourselves as. We don't want to just ignore that part of it. And at the same time, we want to show that we are active listening through our body language. So something that does turn employers off is if you're, having a conversation with them and you're checking your phone mid-conversation, or you're speaking with them and you have your AirPods in, right? Sometimes that can come off a little bit disrespectful and show that maybe you're not taking this process as seriously as they would like you to. So little things like that are important to note. And lastly, of course, requesting contact information so you can follow up with them with a personalized message. By any means, we do not want to ghost our connections after we've made that interaction. Even if you feel like, okay, this was a great combo, but they're not offering what I'm looking for. And, it's not necessarily what is in my career goals or whatever. It's still a good idea to reach out and thank them for their time, something that maybe you learned from them or stuck out to you. Because again, you never know down the line if an opportunity is going to arise that you are a good fit for. All right, so let's change over to elevator pitches and professional branding. So what is an elevator pitch? Essentially, it's a short professional introduction between 30 to 60 seconds long, and it communicates who you are, what you're interested in, what you've kind of done up to this point, what experiences you've had, and why you're there talking to them. And it really does set the tone and intention for a professional conversation to follow. So here's sort of a good framework for developing your elevator pitch. You'll want to kind of ask yourself, who are you? What are your career goals or interests? What are your relevant skills or experiences? And then again, what is your intention for this interaction? And if you can kind of conclude your pitch with an open-ended question or something unique to further the conversation, then that's great. So I'll read through this example. And this one here, because I'm reading it off of a screen, it's not going to flow as naturally as it would in a normal networking setting. So just keep that in mind. So hi, my name is Macy Smart, and I am a sophomore accounting major at the Eisenberg School of Management here at UMass Amherst. I plan on completing my 150 requirement for CPA eligibility by May 2028. I'm in the process of exploring different career paths and am considering audit and tax. My immediate career goals include finding an internship for next summer and taking on a more active role in one of the student organizations I'm involved in, Women in Business. My top skills include leadership, analytical abilities, and interpersonal skills. And both my experience in DECA as a high school student and my current involvement in Alliance of Women Accountants have helped advance these strengths. I'm interested in learning more about audit and tax roles, as well as understanding from you what you believe are top skills that potential interns should highlight in their applications and interviews. So there's a pitch, and this one is a bit long. It's about a minute long. You can definitely cut this down a little bit. But again, this is a way to confidently share who you are, what you're bringing to the table, and what you're kind of looking to gain from them in this interaction. So I highly encourage all of you, if you haven't really done this before, you haven't gone to like a formal career fair before, or had an informational interview with somebody, then work on developing your pitch and then meet with a career coach so we can review it with you. We can kind of make some edits or necessary changes, and then you can practice it so that you feel more prepared and ready to deliver it when it really matters in the moment. So some other tips for crafting your elevator pitch is to tailor it to your audience. So we want to do that as well as tailoring it to the environment that you're in. So, delivering a pitch to somebody at a career fair might be slightly different than at an alumni event or in an informational interview. If you feel like you're talking to somebody and it's more casual than you expected, you might be able to kind of adjust your language a bit or make it so that it kind of matches the level that they're speaking in. Showing enthusiasm is always very important, maintaining a positive energy, using simple and clear language, avoiding anything too complex or confusing. And when we're delivering our pitch, this is kind of the hardest part for me, is try to avoid filler words as much as you can. So like, or well, so those words that we kind of use in our everyday conversations and language, best to try to limit them as much as possible. And then be conversational, but keep your points concise. So we want to make sure that everything we do share with them is relevant. Recruiters and alumni and other company representatives, they are speaking with so many students during these types of events and offerings. And so we need to be sure to capture their attention, and we don't want to waste their time kind of talking about things that may not pertain to the reason you're there talking to them today. Keep it conversational, so let them know who you are, like let them get to know you and your character and how you communicate. And this is your opportunity to ask them any questions you have. And lastly, important that you practice your elevator pitch, but I wouldn't really recommend trying to memorize it word for word, because if you do that in the moment and something throws you off, then it can go downhill pretty fast. It's happened to me. It may have happened to you before. So important that you know your key points, and then you can fill in the details naturally. But don't worry or panic if you're delivering it and midway through it's not really going exactly as you planned. That's normal. And honestly, like, the recruiters or the people you're speaking with, they are happy to be talking to a human and not an AI robot. So understand that they also can empathize and they were once in your shoes. Some mistakes to avoid. So rambling or being too vague. I really love this meme here of Michael Scott. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, which is honestly so accurate and true sometimes. But yeah, trying to avoid that, or speaking too softly or too loudly. Like at a lot of these events, it gets very, very loud in the space you're in. So if you're speaking too softly or monotone or lacking energy, then it's going to be really hard for the employer to hear you. And we want to make sure that, again, we make a good impression. And again, if you're lacking some energy or speaking, with the same tone throughout like this, then that they may take that as like you're just not interested or you're not taking this process seriously, even if, we're not doing that on purpose. Avoiding mentioning any irrelevant details. So again, keep it really specific and tailored. Try not to overuse too many buzzwords. And yeah, we don't want it to sound too rehearsed, right? We want to still have a natural tone, make it still sound, kind of conversational. And then avoid not ending with an ask. So that's something a lot of students, I'll talk to them after a fair and be like, how did it go? Like, and they're like, oh, it was great. I met so many people. But I didn't get as many contact information as I wanted to. I forgot to ask for it. So that's really important and essential to do at the end before you move on. All right, so how can we deliver our pitch with confidence? First and foremost, the more you practice, especially out loud, the more you'll feel prepared and ready to go into that pitch. And even if we're honestly not feeling super confident, your body language says a lot. So giving a professional handshake, making eye contact when, speaking with them, that will kind of display confidence and showcase that like you're being professional and you're taking the steps that you need to ensure that this conversation goes well. And of course, we can show confidence by adjusting our tone depending on how the conversation is flowing, and just let them see us for who we are. And following up is a really critical component of this whole process with networking. So once you've gotten that contact information, then you would want to connect with them either through email or a LinkedIn message within 24 to 48 hours. and personalize that message. Make it, unique, or mention something that really stuck out to you in the conversation, something you learned from them, or like a plan of action that you're going to be taking over the next few days or weeks. Um, so I have a quick example here, like, "Hi, Sam, it was really great meeting you at the PwC info session. I appreciated your insights on PwC's opportunities." So this is pretty general, but of course you can customize that more depending on what information they shared or what opportunities they presented. Um, Great idea to document and track the people you're interacting with and what you're taking away from these interactions. So we do have a great networking Excel template on iConnect you can access, and I've also linked it to the end of this slide deck. So you can go to that page on iConnect and access it. It's all pre-formatted. So really all you need to do is jot in and insert your information. And of course, following up the right way, continuing to nurture the connection. So we don't want to ghost anyone. We want to, make sure to check in or ask questions or see sort of what the next step in this process will be like. And here's a simple networking roadmap that you can all follow, kind of starting with defining your goals and identifying the right connections, and then preparing for those conversations that you're going to have, all the way to following up and managing that relationship. So feel free to come back to this as a reminder and just kind of check off if you've kind of gone through each stage. Great. So again, I've linked a few of my favorite resources here from our networking page, like our Eisenberg Guide to Networking in LinkedIn, that tracking template. We do have a couple of elevator pitch worksheets that you can look at and look at some samples. And then here are two networking groups that you can join. One of them is called Connect UMass. You can create an account on there and you will be able to access tons of alumni and other Eisenberg community members. And then we do have a formal Eisenberg alumni group. Even though you're a current student, I believe you can join and access that alumni group. So those are linked in here for you to access. Um, I will stop sharing. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat or come off of mute, and I'd be happy to answer anything. Right. Well, if any questions do come up, you are more than welcome to schedule a career coaching appointment on iConnect. Your coaches are here to help you develop this. I know it can be a little bit stressful at first, but we want to help you, succeed as well. And yeah, I hope to see you all in August as well for our last session on interviewing. All right, have a great day, everybody.